Okay, here's the round 5 preview of the NRL 2019 season. I've put all the teams' records on the board as well, win and loss records. There's been no draws so far, so that makes it a little bit easier. The Brisbane Broncos kick off the round against the West Tigers at home. Both sides have lost 2 in a row, although Brisbane I think, are the weaker of the two sides coming into this. The way they played against the Roosters, they were very second best. They were all over the place. There seemed to be no flow to their attack. It was all off the cuff. There was no structure to their play, and they were dominated. And their inexperience off the interchange bench was stunning. There was a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old, and two 21-year-olds on the bench against the Roosters. That's worrying, that lack of experience they have off the bench and in the squad. They're lacking leaders. Darius Boyd's been under a lot of pressure from the fans and the media. The West Tigers also having lost 2 in a row. The West Tigers do this a lot. They will start a season really well out the gate, first couple of games, and then they tail off. This is a good opportunity for the West Tigers to get back into the winning form. The Broncos, crikey, if they win this game, they tie with points with the West Tigers. They are giving their rivals a head start. I've never seen a Brisbane side play so poorly. And Seabold, he's got a tough ask ahead of him, but he had a similar start with the Bunnies last season, and look where they ended up. So while I think it's too early to panic, the Broncos are in trouble. I think the West Tigers have a very good opportunity in this game to make it 3 wins on the season and make it 4 defeats for the Broncos. That is exceptionally possible. It is very, very possible that could happen. However, Brisbane are at home, and they will be tough to play at home. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Broncos respond at home. But this could go to a golden point. This could even be a draw. But the West Tigers, I think, offensively have shown more in attack than the Broncos have. And defensively, the Broncos, they looked very disorganised against the Roosters. And the Tigers have Benji Marshall and Robbie Farah pulling the strings. They've got some experienced players in key positions there who are playing very well so far this season. And the games they lost, they haven't actually lost that badly. This could be a difficult game for the Broncos, but we'll see what happens. Friday's games, the Gold Coast Titans have won no games. They're bottom of the table. They've had 4 really bad defeats, and they're playing against the Penrith Panthers, who struggle to score. So this could actually be a chance for the Titans to actually get their first win on the board. Even though the Panthers have won 2, they've only scored 1 try in their back line, and they haven't scored a lot of points anyway. They've scored very few tries of the Panthers. They've been involved in a lot of scrappy games, and they're not very fluid right now. The Titans, they need to get something going, because they risk getting cut off at the bottom of the table by themselves. Even though they haven't got the worst defence, their defence is not great. It's one of the worst defences there, but it is not the worst. We'll get to that later on. But they need to get something out of this game. Even a draw will be something. The Panthers don't score a lot of tries. Now, the Titans, for all their problems, they can score tries. They've scored some tries. The issue is they're getting outscored heavily, and they're lacking in a bit of flow and structure. The Panthers have a very experienced squad, and if the Panthers can start clicking together, this could be a difficult day, but they don't look like they're ready to click together just yet. And I think this is a chance for the Titans, as they're at home, to get a win. If we look at the last round, only 2 home teams lost. So this is a chance for the Titans to get that first win under their belt and to give their fans some hope, because they've got some talented players. It's just they're a little bit off the pace. They're not quite flowing yet. They're trying things. They're trying too hard. I think they need to relax a little bit, and the game will come to them. The Panthers, they are very clunky in attack, and their errors. They've had a lot of errors so far. They cough the ball up a lot, and they don't score a lot of tries. This could be a low-scoring game. It could be a high-scoring game. If the Panthers can click their experienced and young players together and get that backline flowing, the Titans could be on a hiding to nothing. But if the Titans, again, a very talented squad, can get their players clicking together, the Panthers could be on a hiding to nothing. It is, a toss-up, but it could go to golden point. It's going to be very difficult to see how to predict this, because the Titans have been that bad, but the Panthers, even though they've got 2 wins, haven't been great either. Now we get on to, I think, the easiest game to preview. The North Queensland Cowboys playing the Melbourne Storm. as it stands and how the teams have played so far this season, I can only see one winner, and that is the Melbourne Storm. They've won all 4 games so far. The Cowboys have got the worst defence in the competition. They had that opening round victory over the Dragons, but apart from that, they have been absolutely hopeless. Absolutely hopeless. Defensively, they are literally a sieve. And the Storm are just a machine. They may not be the most expansive team, but their set completion rate is in the high 80s, low 90s. They just steamroll the opposition by just controlling the pace of the game. The Cowboys, they don't look like they can control the pace of the game. And maybe there are weaknesses in the Storm. Don't get me wrong, the Storm aren't perfect. And the Bulldogs showed that if you target Cameron Smith in defence, you can get good yards. And I think yardage could be important and field position. But the Storm as a whole are a well-oiled machine. It's very difficult to put a spanner in the works there. They are a well-oiled machine. There's very few weaknesses. And the Bulldogs had some success targeting Cameron Smith, but it was only a few times that they actually managed to make yards while targeting Smith in defence. As a whole, the whole team read off the same hymn sheet. And the Cowboys' defence is just really porous right now. But they are at home, and they've won a game at home against the Dragons. But they are also, I think, missing Jonathan Thurston's guiding hand over this squad. And they're missing a few other players that have been let go. Plus, they haven't got an out-and-out fullback, and that is a problem. Whereas the Storm have a couple of guys who can play fullback, as well as other positions. And Cameron Munster is really stepping up a level this season as well. I'm going for a Storm win in this one. I can't see anything but a Storm win. The Rabbitohs versus the Warriors. This is actually a very difficult one to predict. The Bunnies losing a golden point at the weekend. The Warriors winning a very important game, bouncing back from 2 heavy defeats. This could be a very open game. It could be a high-scoring game. Both sides can score tries. I think the Bunnies have the better defence, but they've got to adapt to Wayne Bennett's tactics. They're working. They've had a much better start this season than last season, and you can see it's Wayne Bennett imprint on this team. But there's still a few issues that the Bunnies have got to work out. They do occasionally cough up the ball really sloppily, so ball retention is going to be important. The Warriors do have a very free-flowing attack and a very athletic side. A lot of power in that side as well. But I think the Bunnies will have too much for the Warriors. I'm going for a Bunnies win, but I think it'll be a close game. That'll probably be a fun game to watch because the Warriors do have a bit of a inconsistency. They win the first game of the season well, lose the next 2 badly, win well again. So they have been very inconsistent. Whereas the Bunnies have been consistent in all 4 games they played. They've missed out narrowly in one and won the other 3 really well. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But I'm going for a Bunnies win in that one. But I think it'll be a lot closer than Bunnies fans would want. The Knights versus the Sea Eagles. Tough one. Manly are in the top 8 by virtue of points for and against. It's a better points differential. The Knights, apart from winning the opening round, have been close in the other 3 games. They just don't score enough tries, but the Sea Eagles don't score many points either. This is going to be a very low-scoring game. And I think the Knights are missing Nathan Ross. I know he's retired because of injury, but they are missing the fact that he could pull a play out, pull something out the hat and score tries for them. The Sea Eagles, they've probably got the weakest squad in the whole competition, but they've managed to ground out a couple of wins. And the Knights play a similar style to the Sea Eagles. They're very difficult to play against. They've moved Ponga back to fullback. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out now he's back in his favoured position. And he could be the joker in the pack. He hasn't played a lot of league. He hasn't played many games. And both Trbojevic being injury concerns for the Sea Eagles. It's going to be interesting. Both sides don't score a lot of points. This is going to be a low-scoring game. Could go to golden point. But the Knights are at home, and they actually seem to, especially against the Sharks in the first week, they played really well at home. And they got. It was a 0-0 first half. I think it could be a low-scoring game. It's going to come down to very fine margins, field positioning, and controlling who has the field position is going to be crucial. I think the kicking game going to be crucial. Cherry Evans versus Mitchell Pearce. That's going to be an interesting battle in the halves as well. And let's see who comes out on top there. The Sharks, Roosters. I think the Roosters are favourites. The Sharks are missing some players. There are some injured players, and Josh Dugan isn't playing at his best. The Roosters, well, apart from that opening round defeat to the Bunnies, those new players are starting to, fit into this side very, very well. Angus Crichton, key example, he's been playing very well for his new team. They've adapted to the loss of Blake Ferguson. It took them a while, but they've adapted to that. I think they're going to have too much for the Sharks, personally. I think the Sharks are missing some key figures. They still have a very, very good squad. There is no hiding from that fact. But I think the Roosters, they are one of the toughest teams in the comp. They're one of the most consistent teams in the competition. That's going to be a very fun encounter. But I have to go with the Roosters. I think they're slight favourites. Even though the Sharks are at home and they have Shark Park is a bit of a fortress. That's going to be fun to watch. But I have to go with the Roosters. The way they played this season, they bounced back from that opening round defeat to what they did against the Broncos was a statement game. That's put the rest of the competition on notice. That was a statement game. I think they were very frustrated with that opening round loss. And they won the World Club Challenge with a half-strength side. So this Roosters side should not be underestimated just because they lost one game. They've won 3 in a row, and that Broncos dismemberment was putting the competition on notice. The St George Illawarra Dragons are playing the Canterbury Bulldogs. I am actually going with the Bulldogs on this one. They won their, they've won a game now. They pushed the Storm all the way. I think they're starting to figure out their best lineup. I don't think they've fully figured out their lineup yet, but I think they're starting to figure out their best lineup. And the Dragons have a lot of injury concerns. Corbin Sims out, Gareth Widdop out. Tyson Frizzell, how fit is he after that ruptured testicle? And of course, there's other issues off the field with Jack de Belin and others not being available for selection for a variety of reasons. The Bulldogs, they look very good against the Storm, and they were unfortunate to lose that game. That could have gone to a golden point, came down to the last kick at goal, basically. The Bulldogs really pushed the Storm hard. Really did. And, that was away from home. They're away from home again. The Dragons, as I say, are missing some key players. That forward pack looks a little bit lightweight without Corbin Sims in it. He brought some energy back to that forward pack, hence they got the 2 wins. Gareth Widdop missing as well is going to be key because he's a key creative player and their captain. So I'm going with the Bulldogs on this one because I think they've gained some confidence from their last 2 games. And in attack, they are looking really good. It's defensively and some of their decision making that's let them down. But in the last couple of games, those decisions are now being made correctly. So they're making the right decisions now, whereas before they weren't. So it's going to be interesting to see, but I think the Bulldogs can do the Dragons over away from home. And the final game on the weekend is the Raiders versus the Eels. Both these teams have had really, really great starts to the season. The Raiders have put in a couple of statements themselves. The North Queensland Cowboys being hammered at home was a statement. The Eels, okay, they've lost a game against the Roosters, but the Eels have been exciting. In attack, they are good. There is no hiding the fact that in attack, the Eels are really good. They will sniff any opportunity and take it. They will score 60, 70-yard tries, or they'll score tries 5 yards out. They've scored almost every type of try you can think of. The Raiders, their commitment, their work ethic, the energy they put in is there for all to see. And Bateman and Sutton have joined the English contingent in the Raiders. It's got a very English feel to that forward pack. Yeah, 4 of the forwards are English for the Raiders. There's a very English feel to that forward pack. The Eels, Blake Ferguson's been a great addition. Mitch Moses is really starting to come into his own, and Clint Gutherson at fullback is I think relishing the captaincy role and the fullback position. And I think the balance of the Eels is right this season. Obviously, last season was a disaster, but Jared Hayner's no longer there. And they have their new stadium now. So the Eels have some positive things to look forward to in their future. The Raiders have had a very good start as well. Both these sides were not expected to be this good out off the bat. They're exceeding expectations, whereas other sides like the Broncos and the Cowboys are really, really flattering to deceive. They are really below expectations so far this season. So this is round 5. There are very few out-and-out winners that I can definitely pick. but the Storm is one. And the Roosters is another where I say they are definitely odds-on favourites to win their games, although anything can happen. I would say the Bulldogs over the Dragons are at a push, possibly the Bunnies over the Warriors, but most of the games are going to be probably very, very tight. The Raiders-Eels is going to probably be one of the games of the weekend. I'm really looking forward to the Raiders versus the Eels as a Raiders fan, and I also like Parramatta as well. That's going to be fun to watch. And there's a lot of English players on display for the Raiders as well, which is kind of cool as an Englishman who follows the NRL. That is going to be a fun game this weekend. Hopefully the quality is better than the last round. I managed to catch 3 of the games, and yeah, there was a lot of drop ball. There was some below quality play of what you expect of the NRL, and hopefully some of these matchups create some exciting rugby league. But there's going to be some games, like let's say, like the Gold Coast Titan, Penrith Panthers, Knights, Sea Eagles, that could be very low scoring and very bitty. But that's the style those teams play, especially the Knights. They're a very, difficult side to break down. The Panthers, they're not fully clicking yet. The Sea Eagles, very similar. They're not scoring a lot of tries. There could be some games that could be low scoring. Probably will be low scoring, but there could be other games like the Raiders Eels or the Roosters Sharks that could be really high scoring, lots of points, really entertaining. So it's all up for grabs for round 5. But there you go. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Place your thoughts below, and I will have some more videos for you soon.